Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's video. The lighting is different because it's a cloudy day in Los Angeles, and it's never happened the whole time I've been filming, but this time I have a light. So welcome. I am Angel DeSantis. I talk about religious trauma and I'm a yoga instructor. And I realize that I have been forgetting to mention, one, to ask you to click subscribe, and two, that I do have a religious trauma course that I made at the beginning of COVID when I had time. I made a religious trauma course and it is based off of questions, and then you just answer them. It's not a test, it's just literally outing yourself so that you get to see your thought patterns and what your thought patterns are. And then that kind of opens you up to a starting point where you can kind of see where your baseline is and you can go from there. And for me, asking myself questions really exposed how my thoughts were layered. And once I found out how my thoughts were layered, then I could take the next step of being like, do I like them layered this way or do I want to layer them a different way? So I do have that as well in on my website, but I can also link it below. So I wanted to talk today about, I want to tell two stories. And it came from this Instagram post by Nate Postlethwaite, I believe is how I pronounce his last name. And he is a really, really wonderful trauma coach. I highly recommend him. He does a lot of really beautiful work for trauma and for specifically trauma with LGBTQ. But this was the quote that I am basing my story off of. And it says, "When the way you choose to heal is criticized by those who caused you harm, they're not concerned about your healing. They're concerned about your growth and your potential awareness to no longer carry their generational pain. Your healing is their greatest threat." And again, that's Nate Postlethwaite. I will also link him below. And it just reminded me of way back in the day when I was 27. I had just gone through my initial realization that how I grew up was not my fault. And I wrote an article about needing to forgive myself after 23 years of being in a cult. And I wrote it and it went on Elephant Journal. And I was the first one of my generation and from the groups of people who were leaving this cult. The cult I grew up in is called the Children of God. I was the first one to kind of write something that public on it. And so I wrote an article. And the very first thing that happened when I wrote that article is a leader in the cult who was directly responsible for a lot of the abuses that happened and who definitely took the money and ran. He immediately reached out to somebody very close to me and said, "Hey, she shouldn't write this article. This article is going to ruin her career. She's never going to have a career after this. This sounds like she's a victim and she's complaining and it's dangerous for her to keep this up. She needs to take it down. Like, out of concern for her, I'm telling you to tell her that she needs to stop talking about it." And this person relayed that message to me. And I was like, no, I disagree. I don't think my career will be harmed. I think it is really important for me to say the things that are truthful to me. And I think my healing is really important. And it's more important than this person telling me that I'm not allowed to heal. So I left the article up. But it was really interesting to me that, of course, the first person to speak out against me saying anything about my own processing of my own trauma and walking through my own stuff, this person came in and was like, "Hey, don't talk about it." Because what my eventual journey has led to is outing these people. And that was what they saw. Like, they saw the first step along that path. And so they immediately were like, "Hey, people are going to hate you. People are not going to hire you. This is going to ruin your life. Don't do it." And clearly this person was wrong by a magnitude of a lot. So that's my first story, which leads me right into my next story, or my little piece of advice, which is that when you are healing, don't look to the community that is responsible for your hurt. The community that is responsible for the wound will not be the community that helps you heal. It absolutely cannot be. And the tough thing sometimes is that we don't want to leave that community because we know it, we love it. It contains people we love and people who we assume or hope and who also say that they have our best interests at heart. And so that's really hard to see past because you want to trust people, you want to be able to continue to love the people that you love. But when you have gone through religious trauma and you need to walk away from it, you need to walk away from it. And that includes the people who directly or indirectly contributed to you experiencing religious trauma. And it is a very difficult thing to do. The good news is that it takes years. And so you can do it slowly and in small increments. You don't have to go cold turkey. You can just start walking towards your healing. And as you continue to walk further along this path, people will continue to out themselves as not supporting your healing. So this person who came for me right away, that was the first person that I stopped communicating with, because I was like, if I say, this is how I'm hurt and this is my first step in healing, and you immediately come put a blockage up and say you are not allowed to heal, then sorry, you're the first person to go. And as I've continued walking along and getting, like, speaking about it and getting vocal about it, people have continued to show themselves, and that's okay. I don't need everyone to support my healing journey. I need to do it. It's my journey. I need to walk this path. Other people don't need to. Other people don't even need to support me. But if they don't support me, then I ask that they step aside. But the biggest healing for me came from people that I didn't know. It came from strangers who saw me and were just kind. They were just kind, and they were just loving for no reason, and they were just supportive, and they listened. So if you are in this space where you're trying to leave a religious community and you're not quite sure where to go for support on your healing journey, I am going to suggest that you reach out to strangers, because strangers can be really, really beautiful and kind and absolutely the best people for your healing. And the people closest to you might have directly or indirectly contributed to your wound or where you are now. So that's my story. That's my video for today. Let yourself learn to accept the kindness of strangers. And if a red flag immediately went off in your head and you're like, stranger danger, great. Now you know that your brain has been laid up to see strangers as the enemy. So make note of that. But you don't also, that doesn't mean let strangers into your life. It means let strangers be kind to you and believe the kindness of strangers. And if you get that internal alarm, which I did for a really long time, what I did is I kept really big boundaries. So I would let people be nice to me, and then I would wait for the other shoe, and then when it wouldn't come, then I would be like, okay, you can be nice to me again, because there's no ask. There's been no ask so far. And what I realized over time was that strangers and people I didn't know who weren't from the community that I came from, those people were amazing, and they were kind, and they were loving, and they have been the best people who have directly contributed to me being the person I am today, and they've directly contributed to my healing. So my suggestion is to take the first step towards your healing, let people out themselves and ask them to step aside, and keep walking your path of healing, and open yourself up to the kindness of strangers. So that's my video today. I hope that it was helpful as usual. If there has been anything that helped you along your journey, drop it below. That way people can come here and see resources that have helped you and not just my story. But yeah, thank you for being here. I appreciate you. And I will see you next time.